Does anybody recognize this? What is this? Who knows? Brian, say it again. Sponge Daddy. That's right, Sponge Daddy. Is that what you were going to say, Brian? So these bad boys sell. Does anybody personally use one of these? Okay. So this morning I was making a French press decaf cup of coffee, and I looked over the sink and I saw this bad boy sitting there. And I thought to myself, I recently heard the story behind this. Has anybody heard the story behind this? Okay, so I'm gonna share it with you briefly. And I do have a point. The point is there's one thing that stood out to me in this gentleman named Aaron's story of Sponge Daddy, because he created this. He went against the grain in his family because he came from a family of physicians, and he decided he didn't want to be a physician. His mom made him wash the dishes when he was a kid, and the dishwashing idea became a washing cars in high school idea, and he figured out he could wash cars for $10 a pop. So he was entrepreneurial. He was business savvy in a household full of physicians. His parents paid $100,000 for him to get a college education. And then his parents turned to him at graduation and said, "What are you going to do with it?" And he said, "I want to keep washing cars." His grandma told his parents that they should disown him. So I wonder if there's some people in the room that are going against the grain of the family, and yet you're on a mission to maybe change the trajectory of not only your life, but your family. I'm going to conclude the story with this one, because I could go on. By the way, if you look up Sponge Daddy's story on YouTube, it's fascinating. I rewatched it this morning, and it's 24 minutes long. The one thing that stood out to me is there was a time where this gentleman, Aaron, created this finished product, but he went to the market, and there was a few things. I'm not going to get into details of that, but he didn't sell as many as he hoped, and he thought it was a brilliant idea. People told him it was a great idea, but his sales were so minimal, he put them in a box and put them for 5 years in a box in his garage and left them alone. And my point with this is, I wonder how many of you have a creative idea where maybe it's an idea, even though we know Gary Keller, he lays out the model, right? If I had the marker, I would draw out the square, right? Creativity at the top, systems and model at the bottom, right? Foundational. So we don't want to build our business on creativity, but once we have the plan that we're following to systematically and stay in touch with our people, why not insert some of your creativity? I was talking to Beth earlier, and out here by the coffee pot, actually, and she shared with me, it's the Rotary Club, right? That she's been a part of the Rotary Club for how many years? Making you think now. At least 10. And it's something that she enjoys doing. Her and I have some history together. I remember her from Southland, and she's been with the Rotary Club for a decade now. My point is, what is it that you do that you enjoy that adds value to others? Because that may be the one thing that if you lean into and you implement more intentionally, meaning maybe you start capturing some video footage and share what you do as a human being, where it's not just real estate all the time, it's you as a human being. That may be the breakthrough that helps your business go to the next level. So today I want to talk about the 5 mistakes that myself and most business owners make. And just give a little bit about myself. That's my wife. Everybody turn around. Will you wave, babe? She hates being put on the spot. That's my wife, Ashley. Yeah, high school sweethearts of 23 years. Thanks for the 3 people that clapped for her. I appreciate that. I'll buy you dinner tonight, babe. Make up for that. And that's my son, Matthew. He's 14. Everybody say hi, Matthew. There we go. Yeah. I like family business. Does anybody have a drawing or feel compelled to pursue family business a little bit? Yeah, right on. Okay, cool. Nice. Yeah, definitely. Proof's in the pudding on that one. And so I'm creative. I had a coach. Actually, his name was Paul Teller. And I was a productivity coach in Overland Park. And I had this powerful moment where I went in his office and he was coaching me. And it wasn't anything that he said. It was something that came out of my mouth that impacted me, Benny. And this is it. I turned to Paul Teller and I told him, I'm not creative. And you know what? When I said that, it just hit me in my core. Have you ever said something and on the inside, it just hits you and it's like, that is a lie right from where lies come from? That's what happened to me in that moment. So one of the things that I've leaned into since 2020 is being creative. So I wonder, the things that you enjoy, the things that you're creative in nature, because I believe each one of us is creative in nature. I wonder, like, you take the entrepreneurial spirit you have to have your own business. You take your unique giftings, hobbies, the things that you're passionate about, whether it's crocheting, writing, reading, listening to podcasts, Rotary Club, whatever it is. What if you factor all of that in together and then you get more intentional on social media so people know who they're working with. Come to find out, we're all human beings and people want to do business with people. So as much as I love technology, by the way, I'm going to give you a 2026 content strategy at the end of today. So if you miss it, reach out to me on social media or Sarah, and we'll get the files to you. Point is that I think the magic can happen when we take our creative aspect of ourselves and we blend that in with our business, and we learn not to be a secret agent, which means we tell the story. This is my family. Don't you just love when people show their family photos? Like, it doesn't capture the moment of chaos where I turn to my wife, true story. I turned to my wife, I said, babe, that's okay. If you guys don't want to get photos done before church, guess what? I'm just going to use the same photo as last year because the Christmas cards are going out like clockwork, non-negotiable the first week of December. So we all got our act together. Everybody got dolled up and smiled for 5 seconds and went back to being fussy. And yet this is the family photo. So I introduced you to my wife and son. We have 2 other children. Our oldest, Shaylee, is over here, other side. Shaylee, she's going to school to be a Christian family counselor. And this is Aubrey. She's a singer. She's a worshiper. She's creative. She writes music. I love my family. So the goal that I have today in the next 22 minutes is that there's 3 of them. Number 1, that we would think at a higher perspective, meaning that whatever we have, the closings, the phone calls, the follow-ups, the appointments that we have going on at 10 o'clock and after that, we will file those to the side and think about your business and your life from a higher level. And like the goal that I have outside of this one is that just one idea, right? What if you could just take one idea, one thought, one decision that you make as a result of our time together today, because it could be the next, what was it? What did I say, Steve? $330 million is the profit they've made over the past 13 years on a $4 sponge. I'm not saying go get in the sponge business, right? But let this represent creativity. I want to clearly define that. And then number 2 is that sometimes I have a coach's heart, if you can't tell. Sometimes we just need a little bit clarity. And so maybe today you think at a higher perspective of your business. Number 2, that you gain clarity on idea, thought, where you're able to make a decision and move forward. And the reason clarity is something that's important is because, well, we know the bold law. I think it's the bold law still. Clarity is, let's do that one more time. Clarity is power. Is that still bold law, Steve? Okay, very good. I know all that's been rewritten. So clarity is power. Sometimes we just need more clarity. Ideas before results. Come up with some ideas and then make a decision. And then ultimately, we're all businessmen and women, right? So we want to maximize our time and make more money. Is everybody on board with that? Say aye. I like that. I'm in the right room. That's wonderful. So I like to lead with my wins, right? And so I thought, why not put some of the most embarrassing moments of my life to keep it 100, keep it real with you guys? Willie, why are you taking a photo of this? No, that's the one photo you've taken, man. So here, and I put the top one at the top for a reason, because it's the one I had the most shame and guilt around for years. As you can imagine, I've always been in the top 10% of the offices as far as being an agent in the office is what I mean. And yet, could you imagine how I felt on the inside knowing that my wife and I, my beautiful family, for the longest time, the first 9 years of my career, we lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, less than 1,000 square feet duplex. And I had a ghost from the past, if you will, haunting me. And it's top of the list. The thing that I was excited to launch my business. I took 46 listings my first year because 1 a week seemed reasonable, fell a little short. But guess what I did? I turned my family financials around quickly within the first 12 months of launching my business in 2007. But I didn't file my taxes. Painful. Some of you, even though it doesn't look like it, I know you've been there and you get this. And yet I didn't do that, not just for 1 year. I did that for the next 3 years. Eventually, they sent me some reminders, right, with some deadlines. And I had to figure that out. And yet that's how I started. So don't do that. And then I filed quickly and I didn't use any payoffs, Willie. And so I had all of tens of thousands of dollars of debt that haunted me around till I figured it out. Then for 9 years of my career, even though I went from fireman, EMT, landscaping guy to real estate in 2007, man, that seems so long ago, 2007. And I got stuck earning between $60,000 and $70,000 a year for nine years in a row. It was cool the first year because that was about double what I was compared to making. But After that, it was no longer cool. And I stayed stuck for 9 years until I got my first coach. So one of the reasons I'm so passionate for coaching and consulting is because I realize sometimes we're just one idea, one conversation away from the breakthrough that is the hinge point, if you will, that makes everything happen. So these are some of my most embarrassing, definitely not an exhaustive list by any means. And then, oh yeah, 2019, I had my first $100,000 month. And yet, guess what I did? I went and spent it all. So within the next 4 months, I've done some dumb things. And this, okay, so within 4 months of that, I dissolved my real estate team because as much as I love my team members, by the way, some of them were family members and some of my best friends, Chris Pinion, Tim Crable, my wife, some people, some of you know them. And I dissolved my real estate team because we had fun together, but we weren't being productive. We weren't making money. So some hard lessons there. And I thought the other thing is I thought working harder was the answer. Working harder may be the answer if effort is the challenge or if there's not enough effort being put in. But also, it's not a matter of just working harder, because if I'm working harder on the wrong things, that's not going to work out. That's where it takes a little bit of wisdom. But there's some things that I've done right. I am proud of the fact that when the economy was crashing in 2007, I was so naive. I was 22, I think 23. I like that you're taking a photo of this, Willie. Zoom in on it, get it good, get me in it. Yeah, that's better. 2007, I launched my business and ignorance is bliss. I'm thankful that I didn't know what was going around in the real estate office, but I did observe that half the office was cut in half in the first 12 months that I was there. We went from 60 some odd agents down to 36. Like, where's everybody going? And my point is that I heard a little bit ago, I think Steve, you might have touched on it, or the video, it was Cody Gibson, the head maps coach guy on the treadmill. He said that the market's shifting. I just want to let you know, if you've been in the business for a while, whether you've been in the business for a while or you're starting today, don't get caught up in the news. Don't get caught up in focusing on the problems in the world, because it's going to rob you of the energy and the energy required to change your world. So regardless of the economy, you get to decide your economy. That's the thing that I'm most passionate about on that. I put this photo in here intentionally. Number one, it's like, man, these, I'm not even sure if Linda's alive still. And yet, man, I look so young at this top photo. The reason I put that in there, though, is because I want you to remember, why did you start your business? Because some of us are having our best years ever. By the way, James Shaw put out a video yesterday that's solid. He went on Instagram and he was bold, right? As to be expected. And he said, you know what? It's working. My diligence, this is Chris's paraphrase version of what James said yesterday. Something like this. It's working. All of the effort I've put in, I've built the right team, as Vinny said, the team. I've built the right team, got the right people in the right seats, and we're clicking on all cylinders. It's never been better. And so he recorded that video to challenge and encourage. If you're having a season where you're winning, be bold and post that. So when you go through a valley, you could look back and say, if I've done it once, I could do it again. Sometimes we just need to be reminded why we started in the first place. Maybe that's a question that you wrestle with and think through as we move towards 2026. So here's the mistakes. Willie, this is another great photo op. You like taking photos. I like that. I'm on to you, man. So here they are. If you'd like them all in one shot, this is it right here for the sake of time. So the first mistake is this, not having a written plan. Why is this important is because number one, how do we break that kind of like Cody being on the hamster wheel? You ever felt that way in your business where it's like, man, you're doing everything you know to do, but you keep getting the same results year after year? That's what happened to me for 9 years. It's like the feeling of being on a hamster wheel. Well, one of my favorite books, it's called the Bible. And there's a part of the Bible that says, where there's no vision, the people perish. That doesn't mean that if we don't have vision, we fall over and die. Thank God that's not what it means. But it means where there's no compelling image of your future, you're undisciplined, meaning it doesn't matter what you eat, what you drink, what you do with your time, what you do with your money. There's no destination you have in mind. Therefore, how you use your life and the resources of your time and talent don't matter, because there's nowhere you desire to go. So what if you had a clear written plan? Written plan means that and I love that I'm we have the tools, right? It's the 411. It's the, 135? I'm a little rusty, right? Been out of the loop for a few years, but it's the one big goal, 3 priorities, 5 strategies, right? That's a one-page business plan. I was in Las Vegas last year talking to my coach, Omar. My wife was with me. And he was interviewing me on his podcast channel. Great guy, Omar El Takori, stud. And he's my personal brand coach. And I started talking to him about the one-page business plan for us. Like, that's common, isn't it? Have you heard of that before, the one-page business plan? I'm just spewing that language. And he's like, hold on, Chris. What do you mean one-page business plan? He's like, I've never heard of that. I think of business plan. I think of big packet, all these details. You're talking about one page. I'm thinking, bro, that's just normal for us, right? So my point is sometimes the tools that we have in our culture could become so familiar that we just take them for granted, just like we can the relationships with those in our household, right? Just become too familiar. So one of the things I like to think through, I mean, yes, anything could be possible in 5 years. However, sometimes it's important to get clarity on where you desire to be within the next 12 months. So what if you just take some time to dream about where you desire to be 12 months from now at the end of 2026? Is this going to be here before we know it? I got this language from Abraham Sharif. I don't know if you know him. He's a bold coach out of Ogden, Utah. He refers to that it's mission critical. I just took his language a copy. It's mission critical that we have a clear path to achieve our goals. So it's not a matter of like airy-fairy dream vision and then disconnected from reality of the work required to get there. Because the lead, I'm gonna move on to this one for the sake of time. I want to make sure we get the takeaways from today. So number two is going to be this: building it alone. Something else I learned from Abraham Sharif, that if we're building our business by ourselves, you're making it harder than it needs to be. And also I learned this. I had the privilege to be at TL Fundamentals a few years ago, 2018. And of course, I'm sitting as close as possible to Gary Keller, and no one succeeds alone. Right? Think about anybody that's done anything great in history. I mean, I think about Michael Jordan. I would almost argue, even though I'm not a big sports guy, I love Michael Jordan. It takes me back to 1990 something. My grandpa in the front room watching basketball on the TV, and you got Jordan, you got Bird. Chris, what's your point? They had coaches. Even Michael Jordan, he had the coach that the team had, but then he hired one guy to work with him his entire career. So it's like, if somebody as talented as Michael Jordan needed a coach, I think we all would agree we need a coach. Sometimes we're just missing a who. There's a book Dr. Benjamin Hardy wrote called Who Not How, where he also wrote a new book that's solid that Lucas mentioned, the Art and Science of Scaling. That's it, solid book. And the premise of that book, by the way, is if your goal is to sell 100 homes this year, he says when it comes to your activities and your plan, like 10x that bad boy. Go for what would the plan have to look like in order to sell 1,000 homes a year? Point is, I should have included the Amazon link on that one. Okay, we all have blind spots. All transformation starts with self-awareness. How do we become more self-aware? Well, it probably looks like somebody that trusts us, that we're in relationship with, sometimes calling us out and saying, hey, you tend to do this. I'm not okay with that. Is that really working for you? Right? My wife has really helped me over the years with that. Thank God for her patience. Point is that maybe you're missing a who to crush your goals in 2026. I got my first coach, Rick DeLuca, changed my life. He helped me buy back my time. He had me break into the 6 figures for the first time ever in 2016 after being stuck 9 years. And he helped me take nights and weekends off. I didn't have to just go work harder and crank out more hours. I just had to be more intentional. So I made a bold move. Sometimes in order to have the breakthrough we desire, we need to do something we've never done, right? And last year, I hired 2 coaches and I went all in. Meaning it's like, Chris, don't dabble in a coach, because I've done that for years. I've had coaches since 2016 consistently. And I hired 2 coaches. One of them you may know, Diana Kokoska. And then the other one's a gentleman named Omar. And in 1 month, I invested $31,500 in coaching. Chris, why are you saying this? Because I wonder for you, if it's time for you to not dabble in investing in yourself, you need to go hire the best that you know and find a way to pay for that, AKA your business. Don't you love in real estate, we could always narrow it down to how many more listings we need to take? It's nice, isn't it? So easy on paper too. And so I'm a big fan of podcasts for a few reasons. Because imagine this, I know Diana, not personally, I didn't have her number, and yet I've taken Bold 9 times. I could have sent her a Facebook message and said, hey, Diana, I've taken Bold 9 times, love you so much, blah, blah, blah. Can we jump on a phone call together? I mean, yeah, that probably wouldn't have worked out. But you know what I did, Brian? I did this. I said, "Hey, Diana, congratulations on your new book, Becoming More. I would love to interview you on my podcast channel. Would you be interested?" She replied back, "Chris, that is so kind of you. Absolutely would love to be on your podcast channel." And so her and I recorded a podcast together last year, last year. And I titled it $500 million Mindset because come to find out her story, she took MAPS coaching from losing money to completely profitable. $500 million is what she says. And I had an incredible conversation with her. I wonder what it would look like if you took the swarm, like a tornado that's fun, tornado. If you took like your passion for the hobbies, like we were talking about with Beth's Rotary Club. Brian, what are you into? Martial arts of some sort, right? That's why I'm staying behind this podium. I don't want to get too close to you, man. So like you imagine like your martial arts. What are some other hobbies? Give me one more hobby that's in this room. Keeping your wife happy. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's wisdom, right? I don't know if that's a hobby. That's wisdom right there. What's another hobby? What about from over here? Hobby. Fishing. Yeah, that's good, John. 100%. So imagine this. What if you found a way to take your passion? I'm gonna work on my language on this. This is one of my takeaways from today. Get more clear on my language for this. Like, what if you take your passion, your business, and who you are as a person, and you start to tell that story online instead of just posting, just listed, just sold. By the way, did you know that buyers and sellers don't really connect much when you, like us real estate agents, appreciate that? Like, oh, good job, Brian. You took another listing. Right on, man. Love that. That's important. But that doesn't really connect. That doesn't really mean much with the consumer, right? Oh, so I decided at the end of the conversation with Diana, I'm like, man, she represents bold. I'm going to be bold and ask her a bold question. Here's what I asked her. I said, Diana, you mentioned that you fly on John Maxwell's personal plane. Would you introduce me to him because I'd like to be on his podcast channel? I could tell I was asking her a big question. It was one of those deals like my voice, it got crackly. I was actually nervous, man. My hands started shaking and stuff. But I asked her, and she, to this day, she says she appreciates my boldness in asking her such a big question. But what's interesting about that, do you know, a month from that recording, I found myself in Palm Springs, Florida, with her and John Maxwell. And John Maxwell and I even recorded a short podcast together. I've thrown up a few QR codes I haven't mentioned. If you want to check that out, you're welcome to. And I did realize something in this, Willie. What I realized is that sometimes you have to be careful what you ask for, because she had a yes for me, but was I willing to pay the price in order to get it? Because there is a price that has to be paid for the life that you desire. I'm not sure what that is. So I would say this 2026, it doesn't matter if you've never sold a piece of real estate or you're the top agent in Kansas City. I believe for each one of us, 2026 needs and must be the year that you bet on yourself at a higher level. I'm going to skip the third one because I have some bonus material I'm going to give you at the end where there's some questions. It's important that you have a personal growth plan, right? And I know that's familiar with us. I know we learned that in Bold, or used to learn that in Bold. And I just want you to think that the one thing I want to touch on that category, the third mistake most people make is not having a personal growth plan. What's the one skill that if you worked on and developed over 2026, over the next 12 months, that would be the most beneficial for you? I'll share mine. Mine is communication. Steve referenced the book Susan Scott, The Conversation is a Relationship. And the point of communication or conversation is connection with people. And so, did you know, I was talking to Steve about this last week, the biggest need that us human beings are having right now in 2026 is a result of some things that happened in 2020. Remember when we were all working? It was crazy, wasn't it? We was wearing masks and didn't know what to do. We was meeting on Zoom, all those things during 2020. Here's the statistic that's important to know, that since 2020, people have been more online, meeting in Zoom and online training, coaching, and all of that type of stuff. I mean, look at the real estate companies that have popped up where it's like, we're going to go all to digital. Guess what? knowing human beings, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that that's a recipe for disaster. I'm not going to get on my soapbox with that, but here's the statistic is this. People are desiring in-person connections. You know, one of the most powerful things that you could do in 2026, you start getting your database of people together in small groups, right? I'm talking about if there's a hobby that you enjoy, what if you got together Friday nights once a month at your house or whatever, something personal, or went out to dinner and you started to form a community in your broader community that was around your niche or the thing that you actually enjoy. That's one of the things that I've learned from Omar. So last year, it's like anybody that knows me, they typically say the same thing when I'm in bold. I don't know if they still write do they still put the thing on your back and you write it? So everybody always says the same thing. Mickey, thank you for that. Chris, you're so optimistic, positive, and all that. I kind of got to the spot where I was frustrated, honestly. Like, okay, God, that's great. I'm positive and all that. What do I do with that to provide for my family? Like, I need some help on that one. So what I want to end on this one with this. So one of the things that I've done, just so you know what this looks like in real life, I love leadership. I love coaching. I love seeing other people succeed. I love creativity. So I thought, you know what? I've been to all these other people's conference. I'm going to create my own conference. So last year, my family and I put on a leadership conference for business owners at the Maverick Event Space in Kansas City. Had about 76 people, had a phenomenal time. Had all kinds of guest speakers that have written books and neat things. Then for church, I thought, you know what? I have some ideas. I've created 8 courses over the past year that I sell online to serve people. I thought, you know what? I'm going to run like a pilot course and call it a small group and meet for 12 weeks. And they helped me create a 12-month coaching program. So I wonder, I've already said that 3 times. I'm not going to be redundant. So I would say this, in 2026, it's time to write down your personal growth plan. Get real clear. Don't just read every book that Steve and people like myself recommend and throw out to you. Be real specific about the books that you choose to listen to, the podcasts you listen to, and the people you're following. Here's the other one. This is like the whole hamster wheel thing. Think about this. As an employee, how do we make money? No trick questions in here. We trade time for money. That's not a bad or evil way to do it. That's just one of about 4 ways to do it. So the idea, here's the problem with that though. When we're an independent contractor or business owner, if we bring the trading hours for dollars mentality over into our business, that could be a recipe for disaster. Because just because we work more doesn't mean we earn more. Right? If I come into the office and I hang out for 4 hours at the coffee pot with Beth, even though she wouldn't do that, she respects her time more. Like just because I'm at work doesn't mean I'm earning more. So there's a journey we have to go on as independent contractors and business owners that looks a lot different than being an employee. My son, he cracks me up. I got a phone call, I think it was just last week, correct me if I'm wrong, where my daughter Aubrey called me. She was at the community center where she works with my son working out. And she called me, she goes, "Dad, you're not going to believe what Matthew did." I'm like, "Oh, great. How's this going to go?" And she said, the gentleman that I work with said that I better get back to work because time is money. A little quiet Matthew, who's real chill for the most part, unless he's talking about hunting or fishing, then he gets fired up, told this gentleman that he doesn't know at the community center, "You're wrong. Time is not money." And he said, "Time is infinitely more valuable than money." And the guy, I think he was a teenager. Is that right, Matthew? Yeah. And I think the guy was just like taken back by it and it ended up becoming a conversation. And my son said this, "If I give you $1 million, but tomorrow your life ends, would you still want the $1 million?" And the guy was like, "Well, of course not." He goes, "See, time is infinitely more valuable than money." I thought, man, good for you on that one. Yeah. Um, so, we didn't have at Coldwell Banker where I started my business in 2007, we didn't have all these tools like we have here at KW. So I went to the printer and I pulled out a piece of paper. I'm like, okay, I'm 24. I need to set some goals. And so I took out a piece of paper, titled it long-term goals, as you could see. Oh, the date's on it. February 11th. Okay, cool. Should have done it in October, but all right. So this is what's sad though, right here. By 10 years, part of my big thinking then was to actually be able to take one whole day off work a week. What? I mean, you remember that, right? Because I thought, oh, I need to work 7 days a week. Now, part of that worked out well. It's like, yeah, it served me well to do open houses every Saturday and Sunday for the first 3 years. Maybe not a bad idea. The point is that our time is the most valuable thing we have. With back to that verse I said earlier, it's actually wise if we could buy back our time. And I mean, it's on the wall, like success through others, right? So we could have success with and through others is a way to do that. Oh, this is taking me back to 1990 something. You guys recognize this? This is Dr. Phil and Oprah. And my grandma would always watch him in the front room, as well as the soap operas and those things I'm still scarred by. But Dr. Phil, there's one thing that he said that I'll never forget. You teach people how to treat you. I'm going to move on that one so I don't get on a soapbox. So it's just important to identify what are your clear priorities. We got about 2 minutes left. Here's the other one, personal brand. I love that I heard personal brand is becoming part of the conversation at KW through Bold. By the way, personal brand is just what comes to mind when people think of you. Something that's interesting to do is to start asking your people, hey, when you think of me, what do you think of? And yes, real estate. We want real estate to be fundamentally there. And then what? I would encourage you to ask the people that you're in a relationship enough where it's like, okay, I respect them. They're not crazy. I want their opinion. Find out what comes to mind when they think of you. And one of the things, what we resist persists, but what you embrace, God gives grace. There's grace there. And so one of the things, here's the one thing I want to share on this one when it comes to personal brand. You know, I stand up here and I talk about personal brand. I could almost be an advocate of personal brand now just because of how powerful it is. And I resisted personal brand. I started saying things like this. Well, that's for the younger generation, right? I don't understand TikTok, YouTube, all of these things. And I'd go on my soapbox with that. That was just baloney. You know why it's baloney is because there's people there that need our help. And why not show up in a place and become more findable for the people that would hire you if they just right now they might not know you exist, right? That's a whole nother conversation I would love to share some other time. However, for the sake of time, here's what I love about personal brand. I would say this. Here's my best tips. Now, when I say best tips, I just re-upped my coaching with Omar, which means he just got $15,000 from me. So when I say best tips, to me, I'm giving you $30,000. I paid this gentleman $31,500 to be exact to learn from him on this. Number one, pick a platform. Don't get hung up with TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. If there's one you're not into, like I promise you're not going to find me on TikTok. It's not my jam. But you will find me on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So number one, pick your platform. Number two, show up consistently, meaning that you have a written strategy, right? Anytime we have a written strategy, I'm going to give you at the end here, I'm going to give you a chat prompt that you could copy and paste and get your 2026 content strategy, by the way. Just copy and paste that bad boy. Don't even take the time to type it up. Copy and paste it, fill in the blanks I give you, and that'll give you your content strategy for 2026. By the way, AI saves so much time. It's amazing. And here's the cool thing about showing up online. It allows your people, your tribe to find you. So you're running your athletic things. I bet you've already experienced over the past year or two. Like that group of people starts to find you. And when people connect with you on that personal level, that's when we build and strengthen the relationship at an accelerated rate. That's one of the things that will set you apart from the randoms that are calling from Zillow and all of those non-relational, like, hey, I saw you clicked on it. They're starting from ground zero. When you show up consistently for your people, not by just following the touch plan, that's essential, but by showing up consistently online, that changes the game. These are I could go on with more. I've been picking up consulting clients, and the idea that there's people in the world that find my stuff on the internet and hire me blows my mind. There's a young man I don't even know his age. He's from Toronto, Canada. He found me on Instagram and he needed some help in his business. So I made him an offer. We jumped on Zoom. He paid me $3,000 American money to help him navigate some challenges he was having in his business on a 3-hour Zoom. My point is, I'm not saying start coaching people across the world, but what I am saying is that when you show up online, it allows people to find you. More importantly, to also connect you. It's how you form your community. Now, these are some real estate transactions, not all of them, but these are ones this year that I can connect by statements like, Chris, it seems like whenever I'm on Facebook, your stuff follows me all around. I see your videos. You're showing up, man. Like, because when you make a change and you start doing something consistently, consistency stands out. And I am well aware that we're 3 minutes over. And so if you need to break loose, we'll make sure that you get the bonus material. You're welcome to leave because I respect your time. And then here's something I noticed with this guy I used to go to church with. Don't even go to church with him anymore. I noticed that he was creeping around. Don't you love when people, you could see is anybody in here on that? You start seeing like, man, all these people looking at my stuff, they're not even liking it or comment. What's up with that? And yet I noticed this gentleman who I highlighted that I used to go to, you guys know what I'm talking about. I used to go to church with, started looking at my stuff. I'm like, this guy never looks at my stuff. Well, guess what? Shortly after, it was like the next day, he sent me this. Hey, Chris and I want to move, blah, blah, blah. We want to list the house. Don't you love when people reach out and say, hey, Brian, I want to list my house with you. Let's go. Can't get there quick enough, right? Here's the funny thing okay, think about this. This is, as of yesterday, in our MLS, the past 3 days, 297 listings have been taken in our MLS. You tracking? How many of you would say, Chris, if I got in front of that person first, I guarantee they would have done business with me and probably not that agent? How many of us are that confident? 100%. I think there's more than that raise their hands. And you should be, right? It would be a concern if you weren't. So here's the deal. How can you beat other agents to the punch? I would say it's this: become more findable online. Because when people see you showing up consistently over time, over 2026, I promise you're going to stand out. What's crazy with social media, the Sprint Center holds about 18,000 people, according to Google. With the podcast channel, over the past 28 days, 21,720 people have tuned into my channel. That still breaks my brain. That's hard for me to even imagine. Now, when we hear YouTube, sometimes it's like, well, Gary Vee, he has millions a day. Chris, 21,000 is not that much. Just imagine even 1,000 people looking eyeball to eyeball. Like, these are people, my belief is, made in God's image, that are paying attention to what you and I are saying. What can we do? What would it look like if we hyper focused on the problems they were having and came up with solutions to solve their problems? And then we show up consistently online that describe them and their problems better than they could describe themselves and their problems. That's where some magic happens. So I would say, I think I've mentioned podcasts before because I think some of you, one of the best things that you could do is start your podcast. And here's the thing. You may not want to do that because you think, well, there's already enough people talking about real estate. Here's the good news. Beth already knows this. You don't have to just talk about real estate. Should you talk about real estate? Well, of course. It's a way that you serve people. Of course you should talk about it. But it's not the only thing you have to talk about. Okay, so here's where we've been. Here's the bottom line. I'm going to leave this up, but I would like to hear at least 3 takeaways, and I appreciate your guys' generosity on time. So here it is. Here's 10 questions that would be worth your investment of your time to consider. And then also I included this morning, I actually just added this bottom part because in my mind, how I've learned to think about the people I'm serving that I've learned through personal brand is this: how can I make it better? Like, what's the real challenge? Because if I come in there swinging the bat of personal brand and content strategy, but then I just walk out and I don't give them any help with that, am I really serving you well? So guess what I did? I used chat to take an additional 30 seconds to create a chat prompt to help you, when you copy and paste it, come up with your strategy for next year. And then you don't have to hire, by the way, just saved you 15,000 bucks. So that's a win. So scan that, get that. Also at the very end of that page, it's a 4-page document. And at the end of that document, I did include my YouTube channel. And if you would do me a favor, the one thing I would like to ask selfishly is if you would subscribe to that, that would be phenomenal. I appreciate that. By the way, here's a lie. You don't have to have a big YouTube channel. I think I don't even have 500. My son has a bigger YouTube channel than me. I have 400 and some odd people, I think. Here's the truth with YouTube, where it's changing. People desire long format. How many of us have the gift of gab? We like to talk. Nobody point at me. Okay, perfect. More than 3, right? Did you know the trend on YouTube is long format? Long format is defined as 12 minutes or longer. So if you have something you're passionate about and like you mix that all together, then you start showing up online and talking about that. Oh, follow up with me and let me know how that goes for you when you play that out over the next 12 months. That changes the game. Let's hear one. So the goal was, right, there's one thing that stood out that could be your idea, don't make the sponge, right? But your one creative idea. Let's hear at least 3 takeaways before we break loose. Who wants to go first? Let's just do it one at a time, not everybody at once. John, what do you have for us, my friend? Yeah. That's good. Yeah, good job. Number one, investing in them, seeing the opportunity and come up with a solution instead of get focused on the problem. 100%. That's good. And that's what a committed person does. A committed person always finds a way. Uncommitted just finds excuses. Another takeaway, there was Vinny. Man, it's a good word. So if you took just one idea from today and implemented it, any insight on that one?
You know,
And the cool thing about Chat GPT is you could actually say, teach me how to use you, and it'll actually walk you through that. Thanks for sharing, Vinny. Let's hear at least one more. Brian, who just this year, my income directly from referrals, probably close to $100,000 from one relationship. So yes to I want to be clear, yes to the 36 minimum touch plan. And then also find out who your key people of influence are and start to form a tighter knit community around them and watch the magic happen. Because that's where, with all the changes in technology, people are hungry for relationships. And so when we're the person that brings people together in a smaller group setting, oh man, let's hear one more, then we'll break loose. Yes, Willie. Do the podcast. Love that, man. That's a good word. Okay. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist, right? Okay. Once you tell me something, it's on too. So every time I see you now, I'm probably going to be asking, hey, I appreciate your guys' attention. I love how you guys were locking eyes. Like I could tell you're an engaged group. I appreciate that. Thank you for some bonus time. Time is most valuable thing we have. I didn't have many copies left, but I had 4 copies left from an event I did a while back of a book I wrote. And I want to qualify the person that might be interested. If you're in a spot where you feel like at a fork in a road, where you're about to make some big decisions and you feel like you need a deeper sense of your purpose. By the way, purpose is nothing mystical. It's answering 3 questions. Number 1, who am I? Identity. Why am I here? And where are we going? As human beings, no matter our age, those are all questions that usually all wrestle with in different seasons of our life. So I have 4 copies. One of them is a proof copy. By the way, I bring this just because some of you guys have taken bull with me and you know I'm just a regular dude on the journey. And if I could write a book, you could write a book. By the way, this could be recurring revenue forever for you, by the way. Side conversation. That's another conversation. But whoever grabs these first are yours, just 1 copy per person. And I appreciate you. I'll be hanging out a little bit longer if there's anything you guys want to share. Steve, I'm going to let you. Are we done? Okay, we'll see you guys. Thank you. Appreciate you.